Welcome to this video of breaking down the network chains. Today we're going to talk about a couple parts of network protection. We've talked a lot about different network protection services throughout this video series. Today we're going to focus on two in particular, and we'll talk about those in a second. My name is Dwayne Natwick. I am a Microsoft Azure MVP and a senior cloud training architect at Opsagility and Skill Me Up. I am also a Microsoft certified trainer and a regional lead for that program. And you can find me and follow me on the social media links provided on this slide. So here we are in our last of this video series. So it's been really fun doing this. It was my first dive into creating a video series on YouTube. So I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Doing this has made me want to do more. So starting around Halloween, I will have my next video series up and running with security services within Azure. And then following that, I'm going to do security services within Microsoft 365. So lots of videos coming. This is going to continue on because I do enjoy doing these. I do enjoy providing this information to you. So today we're going to talk about a couple network protection services within Azure that we didn't cover in the rest of this series, and those are DDoS protection as well as web application firewall. So we didn't hit on those. We touched a little bit on web application firewall, I think within the application layer networking. We'll go into that a little bit more and how to configure that here in this video, as well as the capabilities of the two flavors of DDoS protection within the Azure environment. So we're back to, after a quick digression away from our perimeter and network security piece of our security posture last week with backup and disaster recovery, we're back to that perimeter and network security piece within firewalls and port rules and internet traffic rules, which we have now with these two services we're talking about this week. This is just another way of looking at the video, and I like this this slide specifically because it kind of brings everything together we've talked about throughout this series. You know, we have our Azure deployments, we have firewalls. We talked about firewalls. We talked about private endpoints when we were talking about hybrid connectivity as well. The NSGs, the virtual appliances, and web application firewall, which we've hit on a little bit, and we're going to hit on a little bit today. Load balancing, and then DDoS. So we have all of these pieces, and this really brings together this whole series within this particular graphic. So I like how that worked out for us. So what is DDoS? And what DDoS defense is utilized for is to provide continuous monitoring and learning for for Microsoft services across the globe. So it's important from that standpoint to protect our internet traffic and protect ourselves from these type of attacks, which is a denial of service attack, which is removing. We want to protect ourselves from these attacks, which are exactly what it says: denial of service, having some sort of port or IP flood that is attacking our environment and causing us to not have the ability to connect to the services that we need. And that's what a denial of service attack is, or a DDoS attack. So, and DDoS, the D in front of the DDoS is directed denial of service attack. So Microsoft puts all of this in place within all of their services, and you can see on the slide we have like Xbox, Azure, 365, Microsoft Store, all part of that ecosystem that is our DDoS protection. And Microsoft then takes the intelligence that they're learning about attacks and protecting you from being susceptible to those attacks. Within any service that you create within the Azure and Microsoft 365 environment, you get the benefit of Microsoft's defense database to have that peace of mind and that basic service of what you are going to that you're going to not have to worry about monitoring for DDoS attacks for the most part, and that will and understand that Microsoft is continuously learning from a global standpoint of what is being attacked, what IP addresses are being attacked, and blocking that for all of their customers worldwide. And therefore, it's giving a lot more focus on that type of attack globally than you might do on your own in terms of your own enterprise using some other third-party service. And then to add to that, you could upgrade that DDoS protection, that basic protection that's working in the back end that you don't have to necessarily worry about. But if you want to have more advanced protection and have more adaptive tuning within your environment and utilize and get more information out of that as well in terms of within your own monitoring environment, within your own SIM environment, you can upgrade to the standard protection as well and have a little bit higher level of protection outside just the basic protection that everybody gets. And then web application firewall is the other service that we're going to talk about today in this video. And the application firewall works with the application gateway as well as the Azure front door, and we've talked about both of those services throughout this series. And it provides that centralized protection against SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and HTTP request smuggling, HTTP anomalies, and it works around that whole OWASP attacker list that is a published list on a somewhat yearly basis in terms of the top 10 types of attacks, and they utilize that. The web application firewall utilizes those rule sets that are around those OWASP best practices and attack recommendations to detect or prevent those attacks into your own environment with your applications when you're running an application gateway or a Azure front door. So it provides another layer of protection very similar to what an Azure firewall does from a network layer protection standpoint. The web application firewall works higher up on that OSI at the higher level application layers rather than from a standpoint of a layer 1 to 4 type device. So let's now jump into the portal real quick and just show where DDoS protection being found as well as web application firewall to get that started and available to your services and configurations. So we're in our Azure portal now, and first thing we're going to do is look at DDoS protection. So if we go to DDoS protection plans within the Azure environment, I don't have a DDoS protection plan created, but I do, just having services within Azure, have standard protection. So, but let's upgrade that right now and create our own protection plan. And we're going to put it on one of my resource groups, and we're going to create. And while that is, and just that quick, it is done. So we can go to resource, and now we can see our DDoS protection, and we can look at adding protected resources, getting telemetry reporting. So we go to our DDoS now. We can see that we can can view best practices for DDoS protection. Here we can protect resources from DDoS attacks and view our metrics. So there's some things that we can do here, adding our resources to our environment for protection. Pick it's by virtual network, and we can add that within our full-fledged DDoS protection, and that's working. It's updating my virtual network, so it'll be available here shortly, and we can view our metrics and do the typical Azure monitoring views that we have for our DDoS and view activity and threats. We can create access control. So there's lots of things that we can do within here to customize our environment for DDoS protection. Like I said, this is the standard service, so you have a lot more flexibility in terms of moving it around and utilizing it for different resources. So if you have production and resources that are facing the internet, you can utilize this for that specific use case and utilize just the standard DDoS protection that comes with your Azure subscription for anything that's internal resources only, that are only going to be connected through, say, express route, dedicated express route connections that are private and don't have to worry about a DDoS attack. The standard DDoS protection that protects Azure as a global ecosystem is fine for you. But if you have outward facing resources, it's definitely beneficial to put that VNet on a standard plan so that you have better protection. So now let's look at Web Application Firewall. And here with our Web Application Firewall, we can get this stood up when we have our application gateway or Azure front door, and then we can create different policies around what we want to do in terms of protecting our application. What is this for? Is it for our CDN? Is it for an application gateway? Is it for a front door? So you can see CDN is in here, and it's a preview. The CDN works very similarly to what an Azure front door does. So it's only logical that that's going to become an option within here, and it's an option here as a public preview now. So you can add your CDN. We can add an Azure front door in our resource group. I'll actually use an application gateway, and we can create a policy. And then set our policy on what are we trying to do? What are we watching for? Are we watching for a specific header name? What is, and it's going to start with, so you can get granular, and we can detect, or we can also prevent within here. And we can then manage our rules, and you can see there are some pre-built rules around the OWASP 3.0. So this is going to be based on the, you can see that there's 3.1 in here. We've got our bot manager rule set within Microsoft. So what Microsoft has found in terms of its cognitive services and machine learning as well. So we can select all of these if we want, and then select what rules we want to utilize within there, or we can create custom rules and then associate to what resources you want to associate. So I associated it to an application gateway in the basics tab. Now here's where we're going to name which application gateway. I don't have any set up right now, but you can see the Web Application Firewall. It's very similar to if you're setting up an Azure firewall. It's only as good as the rules that you create. And if you're utilizing a standard rule set and selecting those OWASP rules, it's going to protect you. But you have to make sure that you have those policies in place, just like any type of environment within the Azure environment. You have a certain level of responsibility to configure those to best practices as well as your organization's needs to protect your resources and your organization overall. So that takes us to the end of this video as well as this video series. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I felt that when we started this, that there was a real gap in terms of focus on networking services within Azure. It's built into a lot of the training requirements, but there isn't a huge level of focus on the networking services. So I wanted to break those out. I wanted to focus on some key pieces in some videos that were 15 to 30 minutes long. Some went longer than others, but hopefully you all gained something out of this video series, and hopefully come back for my next video series that's going to start in the end of October around Halloween for Azure Network Security. Thank you very much. Feel free to reach out to me on the social media links provided on this slide, and have a great day.